All right, everybody. We are here to talk about influencers.
Influencer.
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 Influencers.
Influencers.
Influencer.
Creators.
Influencers.
Creators.
Influencers.
Double influencers.
Influencers.
Creators.
Influencers.
Oh.
Influ-
AI influencers.
AI.
All right, stop.
AI influencer.
Enough with the AI. Enough with the AI.
Hashtag influencers.
All right, we got your attention. Thank you guys for coming. We're excited to be here with you all today. My name is Bryce Adams. I am SVP of Partnerships with Open Influence, the greatest influencer agency in the world.
That's a bold.
It's true. It's
You heard it here.
fact-checked and true.
I'm Eric Flinn. I am the executive creative director at Danone. We make Evian, a bunch of other products you probably don't know. We do Silk, Oikos yogurt, Light and Fit, Stoke Cold Brew. Go check them out.
The greatest company in the world.
The greatest company in the world
Of all time.
of all time.
Hi, I'm Dan Lucey. I'm the Chief Creative Officer and co-CEO of Havas, New York, and I have the pleasure of having Eric as my client.
Yeah. We have our creative director in the audience, too. We might pull her up here and have her come up later. Okay.
Amazing. We've got two incredible experts and me here on the panel, and so we're just going to go ahead and get into it. Anybody who's been following this space knows that the role of influencer agencies is shifting. We saw 3 weeks ago, Publicis just purchased Captivate about a year after their purchase of Influential. And so I think it's actually a really timely topic for us to discuss how agencies and brands are working together to bring out best-in-class creator work. So Dan, I'd love for you to share a little bit with the role that Havas plays in the work that you're doing with Danone and Eric.
So, I'm glad you talked about the landscape is shifting because what's fun about our industry is it's always changing. And the role of social and influencers and how we use them and creators is also changing. And what I'm really proud of what we're doing with Eric is we're bringing influencers and creators that are normally reserved for a certain kind of work in a certain channel, and we're just pulling them into all channels and all work, and we're putting them on big assets, small assets, paid assets, earned assets. And, Eric and I were talking earlier, and I think a lot of people would agree that influencers are the new celebrities. And so just use them. Why use a regular person? So boring.
Us regular people are pretty boring.
Regular people.
Eric, I think we want to dive into a lot of the juicy stuff. We've got some really great campaign work that we're going to share momentarily. But building off of what Dan said, how are you approaching creator collaborations with the specific focus on the work that we're going to talk about today with Silk?
Influencers become such a big part of our communications.
Gotta get closer.
Gotta get closer. For us, we know influencers are so critical to our comms and recruiting new audiences that back in the day, we would come up with a campaign, and then Havas would do it, and then we'd probably go brief an influencer agency or go do this and down the funnel. And now I'm excited to start more putting the influencers right up top and kind of thinking of it from the start and thinking of how we're going to integrate it into the campaign, be really the heart of a campaign, and for something that people can resonate with. And, they want to hear from people they know out there on the TikToks, and they don't want to listen to us. So I think it's helpful to think about it early and often.
I love the idea of syndicating influencers and thinking about influencers as content engines. You mentioned for OLV, for out of home, for even potential television commercial, if you have the production elements in place to leverage that, because we know about the trust that they build and the way that they can impact a consumer journey. So why not get that off social and get it in front of more people in more creative ways? But it's a lot better when you do that from the outset. And that is the intent, and not just oh man, we could run this on pre-roll. And I think that intentionality is what helps lead to some of the success you guys have seen.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm glad you do. If you disagree, that'd be really weird.
I might have to disagree with something at some point.
Disagree with something. All right, so Dan, let's go back to you and talk about the art and the science of actual creator selection, because you talked about influencers as the new celebrities. Something that you said that stuck with me that when we were planning this was that there are a lot of people in an organization that are qualified to pick influencers, but who do you believe, or how do you guys have a best practice on the casting element and how you do decide on who is going to represent your brands?
Yeah. As a creative myself, I think creatives should get to make all the decisions in the process. But thankfully, we have so many incredible partners helping us along the way. But I look, I think that if you want to make breakthrough work, you have to choose an influencer that doesn't just do the obvious thing, right? Because that's a playbook and everybody's doing that. You have to choose an interesting person who's going to do what they do, but it has to be kind of an odd pairing or a fresh pairing, right? To break through, to get noticed. And that's what creatives do. Our job is to create work that gets noticed. And you don't get noticed if it looks like everybody else's shit. So we have to be a little surprising. So I think who you choose is an idea in itself.
I love kind of leaning into that inherent risk of, kind of how do we break through and what's the personality and the story that's really going to allow us to like stop the scroll.
Right.
I think we have a video to showcase some of this. Are we cueing the video?
Yeah, let's cue it up. So so this is for Silk. We picked an influencer, the creatives picked an influencer that I think was very interesting to talk about a food brand and keep it appetizing. So it's not somebody you'd normally expect. Let's cue up two of his TikToks.
We keep a little dirt under my pillow for the dirt man, in case he comes to town. What? Keep a little dirt under my pillow for the dirt man, so he won't take me down to his lair.
That's not the ad.
That's not the ad yet. But
ad.
this is what inspired us to use him, was his song Dirt Man. I think we have one more about him eating batteries. Can we play that?
If we're not supposed to eat batteries, why'd they make them taste so good? What? Couple double A's, hell, even a D fits perfectly like it should.
You can't eat batteries.
Into my throat and down to my tummy.
You're gonna fucking die.
Yeah, it starts to feel funny, but if we're not supposed to eat batteries, why'd they make them taste so good?
I'm Ted Cruz, and I approve this message.
Yeah, so eating batteries.
Good message.
It's a good message. So we thought he'd be great to talk about Silk.
Yeah, Eric, I would love to think about that, because a lot of times we're in meetings and we're talking about authenticity and brand safety and audience demographics. You guys took a different approach when you landed with Carter. And what was the reaction when you saw those TikToks and somebody was like, this is the guy?
Well, I'm a TikTok fiend, so I knew him already. I just scroll TikTok all day. But what I loved about it was, one, he kind of has this hearty, hometown vibe going on, little country. So I liked that. But also, we had a lot of RTBs, right? Anyone have to reasons to believe. So in ads, when we have to 10 grams of protein, yada 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 yada. Doing that in a way that is entertaining is really tough. I like to call it wrapping the pill with the bacon. So the pill being the RTB you want to deliver, and he's the bacon, right? So can he say it in a way that would be way better than us saying it in Supers or someone else? So to me, what I saw was capability to break through, capability to tell our story in a unique way, but still tell our story in a way that I think in a traditional means probably would have been lost on deaf ears. Yeah.
That's really interesting because I'm going to share some stats that you guys approved me to share, but your intuition and all the tools that you used worked. They saw, I feel weird talking about somebody else's campaign, but they saw.
Part of the team now, Bryce.
We're a team
part
now.
of the team.
We're together.
Don't tell my boss. She's sitting right there. A 40% increase in search on Amazon, 10 million in attributed sales.
And
That's
that was just
milk.
1 quarter.
That's in 1 quarter. That's a lot of milk sold. A 32% engagement rate, and I don't know what some of these other numbers. Anything else you want to bring out?
The engagement rate's the biggest. Yeah, there's impressions and stuff, but that's a very high engagement rate. Meaning people liked it, shared it, commented on it. That's the best feeling.
And I think it just goes to show that like a clear creative direction, concise collaboration, and like a vision of like who will break through, knowing your audience, knowing the marketplace, knowing being a TikTok fiend. That's what you get. You get those sorts of results with creators across the full spectrum of the funnel.
Yeah, should we cue it up? Should we play it? What do you think?
Let's play the
Let's
the
play.
brand
Yeah,
ad.
let's play a little case study video.
Should I stand
We're in
out of the
Cannes.
way?
Let's watch a case study.
Is that behind me?
All right, we'll get out.
Well,
of the way.
hey there, I'm Carter Vale, TikTok musician with some humorous tales. Silk hit me up because I sang a song about dirt, and the young people liked it, so they put me to work. When you see this face, do you think almond milk? Not really. Well, testing agreed. But they wanted to try something new, and that thing was me. Did you know 7 out of 10? 7 out of 10. Did you know that 7 out of 10? 7 out of 10. Did you know 7 out of 10 dairy drinkers prefer Silk Vanilla Almond Milk in their cereal? Golly, they prefer Silk Vanilla Almond Milk.
Why don't I have any heads up there? I like it too.
And we're feeling plenty good.
Ooh-wee.
Now they wrote the tunes, wrote the words to the letter. All right. And I did what I do, and I make things better. They turned out pretty good, even with RTBs. They were just right for social, and Gen Z agreed. Silk and cereal. If you got that cereal, then you need that silk. That Silk almond milk.
That Silk almond milk.
If you got that cereal, you need that silk. That Silk almond milk.
Vanilla almond milk.
Pour it up, 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 pour it up. It wasn't just ads, we dropped catchy riffs.
Oh yeah?
From 6s to 20s, they gave social lift. Switch to Silk was the main point of what we said, but the people actually listened, because it was my voice and head. You want a smoothie that's smooth in all the right
Those
ways?
plenty good
So
ways.
first dish that milk for something that's plant-based
That
good.
Silk's so good.
So good.
I really thought we'd share.
And I'm feeling plenty good. 9 catchy songs for the modern age. All right. Bringing weird-ass vibes to your social page. Even digital and traditional on full display. That's a successful campaign. What do you say?
All right.
I love it.
Can you imagine just like briefing the agency and getting work that's just like cereal and Silk? I mean, like they're just like a father and son at the dinner table, you know, having a moment together, just pouring Silk almond milk.
Yeah, that's one way to go.
You would have just ignored it.
Well, I think it's interesting because that looked very native to his feed. It looked and felt exactly like the videos that you showed before that were not branded. Did you guys shoot that content? Did he just produce that? How did you guys collaborate to make sure it would still be of the quality you needed, but also look like it's supposed to look on his TikTok?
Bryce, I love this question, and it's almost like we talked about this before we got on stage because it feels like it tees me up to an important message. It's really, like a lot of times when you work with creators or influencers, brands they want something authentic. They want it to feel like the creator or the influencer, and they hand over the brand to them. And they go produce something that feels very much like what they do, and that's right, but you lose the brand in it. So you have to really work with an influencer creator to lean into what they do, of course, right? You don't want to lose the audience. You don't want to lose why you're using that person. But you got to keep the brand. So we worked with Carter. We wrote the lyrics to the songs with him in mind. So we came up with the ideas, and he performed them, and he kind of says it in the case study. He makes things better, which he does. And he had some great feedback, and he was great to work with. So, yeah. That's kind of how I believe you need to work with influencers and creators.
And, well, you saw here a lot of verticals, but we also ran TV. So this was TV. And I think, to your point, also, like, a lot of these influencers, they don't have a lot of high production experience, right? So I thought it was super cool. Him working with the Havas creative team, I think he thought it was special because he was getting a whole new look at like what high-end production was, how to produce that type of stuff. And so I think that really built a relationship where our creatives and him being a creative actually collaborating made it way better, made the whole process much more fun.
Well, and the one thing I think that where you guys were able to control the narrative around the content without making it feel forced or fake was what you said, Dan. We wrote the lyrics for Carter. So you knew who was going to be delivering it. You were able to give it a very good framework around like the what, but the how, with the look of it, he then was able to bring that into like full focus.
Yeah.
And so it's just a really perfect marriage of brand, agency, creator, all working in tandem to produce something really special.
Yeah, and I think another thing why I think creatives should pick the influencer is because I think it's casting. I think we talked about it a little too. So we cast him for this role. Music is a big part of the Silk brand, right? We knew we need to do something musical. We knew there were, going to be some fun TikToks and, videos we're going to make. And then we knew we were going to have some hard-hitting RTBs that had to live in other channels. So we cast Carter because we knew he would be able to deliver all that and stay true to the brand. Yeah, so that's really important. It
wasn't like there was a giant... I think we looked at a lot of influencers after your team found him just to like make us feel good.
Yeah.
But I also think it's important that the creatives are very much in TikTok, right? Nowadays, if you're a creative, you have to be there. You have to understand the platform. And so it was natural for that creative team just to go, oh, we know someone that would be perfect for it. Now, after that, then we did all the scores and all the research and made sure he didn't have any priors, and stuff. Yeah.
And so... were there any other elements of the campaign? Was it just like Carter? Did you have micro creators? Did you have niche creators? Did you have plant-based, creators? Or did you really guys just...
Carter.
So like you need a lot of work.
Good.
Yeah, well, so there was this TV behind this, and then all social, TikTok, Meta, and then this is part of what we call the Feel Plenty Good campaign. It's a campaign that Havas launched last year. It's really awesome. And it's always been it's always been like song driven. It's always been musically driven. And last year we did Super Bowl with a music spot. So this is kind of fits into that. And then always on, we always have an influencer always on piece. So they're feeding into Feel Plenty Good. They're not feeding in. They're not trying to mimic him. They're not trying to go, oh, I'm gonna do my own thing. We have other people just doing simple recipes. So whatever the influencer does on their own native, we're not going to force other people to do this. They're going to do their own thing. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, great. All right, we have time for about one more question. Eric, I'll go back to you. A couple months ago, Unilever says 50% of our media budget is going to go to creators. Everyone talks about creator first. I think this is a real good explanation and showcase of what that looks like when you truly have a creator first strategy. You don't have to give away the secret sauce, but in your opinion, thinking about the shifts in the industry, big goals that you have, what does like creator first look like? How does that evolve over the next 12 to 18 months?
I think it looks like this. Anyone who actually has a big brand, if you have like a multi-million-dollar brand, you are not going to get the reach you need by just doing TikTok. So if someone really thinks that it's not gonna be possible. Maybe a small challenger brand. So to me, creator first is how do you put them up front? How do you make them part of the full campaign? How do they fit in it? And how is it not an afterthought? But I don't think when they say 50%, I doubt that's just going to be all on a social platform. I don't think that would actually have enough reach for a brand like those brands. Yeah.
And Dan, I think a little similar question to you, but from where you sit as one of the leading independent agencies, how do you guys look at the future of creators and the role you play in supporting your brand partners across the full funnel?
It's a lot of fun. There's so many, right? There's a saying, the internet is undefeated. Yep. And there are so many interesting, kooky, fun, brilliant, talented creators out there. The thought of using different ones in fun ways is really exciting. It's really exciting. Yeah.
We might have a little Activia one coming out soon.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Keep your eyes open.
Okay, we'll be on the lookout for Activia.
Next year.
And I think like one thing, one, you guys have been great. Like you bring a very human element in the way that you're communicating and the way that you're working. And that's the thing I tell people all the time is like, what do you like on Instagram? Like, stop trying to put on your MBA hat and like game the algorithm. Like, we're all people. We all save stuff. We buy stuff. We send stuff. Like,
That's
stuff
right.
like this is what breaks through and what works. You know,
You're 100%
Brick,
right.
brick by brick.
brick by brick. All right, guys. Thanks for coming, paying
Thank you.
mostly attention. Hope you guys had a great time with
Thank
us
you.
today. We appreciate it.